Hey, welcome everybody to the Zoom Test Kitchen. I'm Jeff Widgren, your host. We meet here each Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we have familiar faces. Sometimes we have some new visitors as well. Welcome you. And it's a live workshop. It's a friendly community, but unlike a lot of other experiences, we dig in deep and take our time and don't feel terribly interrupted by somebody's suggestion or question. So I've enjoyed doing this. We've been doing it every Friday for just over 2 years now. I think I started in August 2020, and we're in August. So it's been a fun run. I've had some great help along the way in the sense of some co-hosts or substitute hosts, I should say, while I'm not here, that have done great jobs and filled in my absence. I always have some co-hosts these days. Ray, he manages the waiting room for me, and David will come in at times and help out when the events, if we have special guests from Zoom join us, we add to that team for a little bit more management and so forth as well. So anyways, we welcome you. Hopefully, I've been working on my video. Don't know if it shows or not, but my video and lighting, I guess. I haven't changed the camera or the lens. Just I was working with Ray and his feedback as well. And most of the correction, I was dealing with like a lot more. I still have it, but that's me. Red splotchiness and kind of dark red splotchiness and so forth. And that wasn't me in person. And so I took everything to neutral on vMix and did just a raw camera image, which is a Canon EOS R with a 2470 lens on it and an HDMI out 1080. And I went behind the camera, asked my wife to sit in front of it, which she doesn't enjoy doing, but asked her to sit in front of it. And I color graded the camera a little bit first time really in this studio, and kind of started at the raw device. And it made a huge difference. So now my adjustments in vMix are very minimal, and the lighting and so forth as well. So anyways, a little bit of a sound improvement as well, in the sense that I've been using it's a Windows PC to MixPre 3.2 to vMix into Zoom. And this week I finally pulled the trigger on purchasing the Noise Assist plugin for the MixPre 3. And not that I have a terribly noisy environment, but when Ray was listening and I was listening, because we were trying to tweak Noise Assist, all of a sudden we heard the background get quieter. I'm like, I wouldn't have even claimed it was noisy, but it really does an incredible job. So I think I might have left it on a little higher setting than I want to right now because of a fan I was testing it against, but it's not on right now. So anyways, let's say hi to some folks. Ray, let me turn spotlights off. There we go. Now when you talk, we'll see you. Ray Franklin, welcome, and thank you for all your help this week.
It's been a good exercise for both of us. Thanks.
Yeah, your picture and your camera look phenomenal. Yeah, we were working with you as well on that. And
glad to be back in the kitchen.
Yeah. Robert so let me call out some general geographic areas. Ray is out of Florida, and Robert, hello, is from Poland. And so that means it's 9 p.m.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Welcome.
Very good. And I have on my screen next John Drinkwater, who I am unfamiliar with, John. So I don't know if this is your first time or if I've missed you or have simply gotten forgetful, but introduce yourself.
You wouldn't forget me, Jeff, I promise you. You would never. Name's John Drinkwater. I'm known in Toastmasters UK as Lord Zoom. Somebody's having some problems, so I'll put my microphone closer to my hearing so you can follow along. Yes, if you want to play around with your color balance, I suggest you go to a photographer's website and buy an X-Rite color checker, which is what the photographers use for color checking. It makes life so much easier. It's well worth the money.
Very good. Thank you.
Or something similar. There we are. And Frank's got one as well.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, Ray has one there too. We were looking at that through his camera as well. So good stuff.
The only problem is when you've got a red face, then you realize it's medical. So
you can't get rid of it all. That's for sure. But well, very good. Lois, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We had another show last night. It was fun.
Good. And when you say show, that's Birding with Lois. Yeah.
And you can see all of it at birdingwithlois.global. It's a website. Got it all.
Good stuff. Frank, welcome.
Good day.
Mike, how are you?
Doing good.
Good. And Joe, good to see you.
Where are these people from?
Yay.
So Frank is out of Canada. Mike, are you Canada as well, right?
Canada, yep.
And, yep. Joe is West Coast. I don't think he's all that far from you, Lois.
Chula Vista. So way down as far south as you can go.
Oh, you're
California.
south. Okay. Yeah. Very good. And I've got Jason next on my screen saying Miami, Florida. How are you, Jason?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Good. The first time here?
I think I was in and out probably about a year ago, but I'm not a regular.
Great. Glad to have you back. Let's see. Nick has joined us. He's off camera. If you jump on, say hi. Otherwise, welcome. And got Ray Harwood as well. Are you going to join us video-wise or just here? Ray's a huge Zoom contributor and Zoom community champion as well. So glad to have you here with us.
It's unfortunate for me, around 12:30 Pacific time, Arizona time, I have to hit the road. So I miss you.
I'll tune in, put us on your phone and call us your podcast, I guess. Yeah. but yeah, appreciate your contribution. See a lot of them out there. So you could run this kitchen just as easily, if better than I. So your knowledge is good, deep and solid. Who else we got? We got one more, Susan Stone.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I think I dipped in one other time, but I don't usually make it. So I just thought I'd stop by and see what I can learn.
Where are you from?
I'm in Los Angeles.
You're in LA. I'm in just south of Kansas City in Overland Park, but come here from Los Angeles. I lived in Manhattan Beach, South Bay area for many, many years. Born in El Segundo, or technically in Inglewood, but needless to say.
And Husband just joined us.
Hansbuck, how are you? Good to have you here. Well, very good.
What about
it
Dirk?
Does me. What's that?
What about Dirk? I got another person on my screen.
Yeah. Good eye. Dirk Brewer, how are you, Dirk? Are you on audio? I know sometimes people connect and all they can do is listen in because they're working and so forth. So I appreciate that as well. But anyways, we have a nice group, nice wealth of knowledge. Hopefully, even a few that have had some challenges that might provide us some guidance. A bit of an open forum, not strongly agenda driven from top to bottom, but I often try to come in with an item or two of focus. Sometimes in this case, I've spent a decent part of yesterday, back and forth in and out of, I should say, of the Zoom community, community.zoom.com or community.zoom.us, and just reading through, a bunch of posts and questions and challenges, and some are, can be fairly clear and obvious. Some you don't even understand why they typed on the screen, and then others are real experiences, but and then the hardest part is that it's written instead of a conversation, right? And so you miss a lot of detail that could help you better troubleshoot things. But needless to say, you can give it our best shot and throw out some ideas, and sometimes they turn into fixes, and then sometimes it's interesting to read people's wish list. They don't really post them as a wish list. They're just like, hey, how do you do this? And we're sitting here going, it doesn't do that, and sometimes I know why, and it will probably never show up. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, that might be a kind of a cool idea and a cool feature too. So, but in the meantime, in that case, you need a workaround of some sort, right? But anyway, so I spent some time in I thought, we could first and always, open the Zoom Test Kitchen with giving you the opportunity for any questions or share of successes or desire to test this or test that. And if we come up quiet on that initially, I was thinking spend some time in breakout rooms. Breakout rooms, kind of the open gateway to multiple places to meet, kind of straightforward. But when you really start thinking about it, when you really have to, deliver for either a client or your employer or whatnot, and people want to share, people want to record, there's these, all of a sudden there's these things you want to do, and things as a host that you want to be able to, and feel like you should until you finally have to try it, have control over. Breakout rooms are different. They always have been. They're very different. I mean, like just for instance, the security badge that's in the main session for the host to, allow sharing or don't allow and muting and so forth. That security badge in a breakout room disappears, and so that strong control that we have of its share screen, chat, renaming, unmute, start video, and whiteboard. Aren't there. And so how do you take care of that need to allow folks to share in a breakout room of all things? So and that's where I say, how many of us have worked with breakout rooms? Just by quick visual raise of hand. So most of us have been involved. How many have run into what you would consider a limitation or a challenge as well? Yeah. So, Frank, you had your hand up there for a second. Is that still true? Or
I had thumbs up when you asked the first question.
Oh, okay. That's why you didn't move on screen. That was a thumb. It wasn't a hand up. Quick here. Let's do, I'll very often do this, but let's go pop quiz. And that is, don't look at close your participants window for a second, if you will. If it's open, close it so you can't cheat. And let's talk about the sort order of the participants list.
Easy.
Easy? All right.
You want to test me?
Yeah. Throw it out, top to bottom.
At the top is yourself.
Yep.
Next is the host. Then whatever co-hosts exist, and they always are at the top, no matter what their other situation is. Then an alphabetical list of people who have a microphone open. And then an alphabetical list. John's shaking his head. What did I miss, John?
No, keep going, Lois. Finish your list. We'll get to them.
So
as you've done it, I'm surprised you missed it. So there we are.
Me, host, co-host. a person who has got their hand raised and is speaking, people who have their microphones open, people who do not have their microphones open but have one, and at the bottom of the list, people who don't have a microphone. Oh, there is one exception. If you have people coming in with a phone only,
Phone number,
no video,
name.
but they're like
Yep.
called in with a telephone, they're up there at the top too.
They're up top too. Yep. Yeah. So let's keep adding to it. Yeah. So John, go ahead and add your understanding as well.
I'm just putting my hand up because the hand up people get to the top of the list as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's the only one you missed.
So the hand up, well, and it's that exception clause, right? If you have no hands up, and they, Zoom's documentation doesn't include the hands up. I mean, it's like they don't even make a note about it. But when a hand goes up, if I look at my participants window right now, it ends up under the host and above the co-hosts, which is where the hands land while they're up. Under the host and above the co-hosts. Outside of that, you're right. It's yourself and then the host. On mine, that's one and the same, right? So I'm at the top of the list as myself, but I'm also the host, and so I don't see two entries there. Then I see Lois, who has a hands up, and then I see Ray and Chill and Dirk and so forth. And then that's that alphabetical list of muted. Now, down in my list a little bit is, let's say, John. You still on? John, unmute your microphone for me. You're down in my list right now. Now, John just got moved up in my list under the high-level sorts, if you will.
Under
host, co-host, hands raised. He's the first attendee unmuted, and so up to the list he goes. So if you consider co-host a group, if you consider unmuted a group, and muted a group, and technically, phone call-ins, if there's more, than just a single entry, it's easier to see as a group. And the reason I'm saying groups is participants list never used to sort alphabetically till several months ago, and it started sorting alphabetically, but it sorts alphabetically per group. And so your group of unmuteds, and so, on a shorter list, but with multiple participants in those groups, it doesn't look like it's alphabetical necessarily because it has this restart capability of sorting. But the larger the groups are, the easier it is to see that it sorts alphabetically. Even to this day, the ability to change the sort, that's not available. There's an option to sort alphabetically or sort by order of arrival, but only in the waiting room. It's a new feature. Mm-hmm. And so in the waiting room, you can tell it to do, you have to do it in the back end portal. You can't do it in in a live meeting or change it in a live meeting. But if you tell in the backroom portal under, customizing your waiting room options, you can tell it alpha or arrival time. And I personally like arrival time in a lot of cases, because if we have this kind of paced and metered method of allowing people into the meeting, Ray has certainly done this for me, because, the bigger the meeting, the more we practice kind of walking people in, following them in, making sure that when their video comes on, it's not inappropriate and so forth. And then, and so if he's always working from the top of the list, knowing that it's ascended by time of arrival, then we're not making people wait unfairly amounts of time as well. The other thing is if you have a custom video running in the waiting room, that time of arrival, it's not that we can see it, but we could just kind of guess and gauge to give them, hey, 20 seconds, so we know that they probably saw the bulk of the video as well. So just some thoughts there, John. John.
Yeah, you're talking about waiting rooms, arrivals, and bringing people in. One of the things we do, and I just wanted to see other people did it, we tend to set up some breakout rooms before the meeting starts, so that we can bring people into what is effectively the main area. We can vet them, and then we push them into a breakout room to, politely get them out the way, so that the next people come in. Do a lot of work with Toastmasters, and when we have competitions, you have to keep certain people secret, like the judges. We use breakout rooms a lot to filter people in the main room. And then when we know that they're not spammers, they're not trouble, they are supposed to be there, we can move them into a breakout room. They can all then have a chat in those breakout rooms before we bring them back in for the actual event starting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Robert.
I'm just looking for my mouse. The problem with having 3 screens is you never know where your mouse is. One of the things that really upsets me about the user list is that I can never group interpreters.
Yeah.
And short of doing all of the tricks and the workarounds, they are a function just like co-hosts. They are a function like the people who have raised hands. They're a group of people. And I'd really like to see the day when Zoom puts that functionality in place. It would be so useful.
Have you requested it of Zoom?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, and the wonder is, trying to think about, that user experience, and then Zoom has to apply this worldwide audience, customer experience as well, is whether, it's definitions or whatnot, to individuals who arrive, or could it be as simple as, giving us, the host, the ability to create a folder in or folders within the participants list and drag people that we desire into those folders, so they're always, grouped that way. It's a structure that we're used to, referring to, whether it's really a folder or not, but a method of grouping that isn't really tied to, not necessarily having to be tied to the interpreter and their profile, because they may be an interpreter in one meeting and just a simple participant in another meeting, so it'd kind of be interesting to hear all the thought process that goes into a feature implementation like that. Frank?
I just wanted to ask, have you had much experience using the new ability to save gallery views?
I've done it. I've done it on jobs, and when I have, when we meet 30 minutes early with the speakers and before we go live, that's one of the reasons that I do it. And I will, I'll put my, if I'm not contributing, and it's never my video, but it might be a video playback, right? So, but if I'm contributing, I'll keep myself in the group, but I'll drag them around in the order in which I want them. You only really have to do one because they're all there. That's the thing. The thing that I am trying to avoid is I don't want to lose them when the meeting becomes 500 people strong and they get lost on multiple pages, especially when they go to breakout rooms and come back, right? And their placement in the gallery at that point is all about arrival time. And so so when you have saved galleries and follow host view, then they're always up top of the first page, and I can more easily manage them, identify them, spotlight them, and so forth. So yeah, I find it quite useful.
Do you ever have the occasion? One of the ways I'm imagining using it is, my understanding is you can recall these if they're reoccurring meetings. So if you have the same group of people weekly, then you can recall that preference, and you wouldn't have to sort them every single time.
That's true. So on my screen right now, I'm in gallery view, and I have a save video order, load saved order, and so if I were to go to load saved order now, there's not multiples. There's just one custom order that you can save, and so when I loaded it, I don't remember where it came from, quite honestly. As far as I mean, I know I did it and I saved it, but I don't remember what it represented. But but as far as that saved order, so if I know I always want here, I'll be able to remember this one. I'm going to.
No, you're not.
Release the video order. Just for a moment, Lois, I'm going to lower your hand. So I adjust.
See, you
but
can't do it with
I'll
my
get back
hand,
to you. No, I can't. I can't. No. So I'm going to be in number 1 spot. Ray is going to be in the number 2 spot, and that's really all I'm looking for. And so I'm going to, because he's like my almost always co-host, and so I'm going to save the video order. So now, anytime we come back to the kitchen and I load that, even if Ray got here late by chance and he's, number 12, once I load that, Ray will snap right back up into spot number 2 on my gallery. And
do you have
and now I can say follow host order. Now you're all looking at what I'm looking at, right? Jeff, Ray. I don't know if the others follow, actually. I have Jeff and Ray. Those are my defined ones, but then I'm looking at Robert and John, Lois. So I think you do, actually. I don't
and you're
have to.
forcing us to look at it that way.
And I'm forcing you. Yep,
Yeah.
correct.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll release that now. There's not a real need for
And
that.
that's per meeting ID, right? So for a different meeting, you could have a different collection or order.
Yeah, it's tied to the meeting itself, the meeting ID. All right, Lois, back at you.
Back at me, yeah. So when you were talking earlier about the sequencing of things, it's my understanding that when I come into a meeting that, or when you come into the meeting first and then other people arrive, they stay in the order of arrival unless you've moved them. Is that agreed with folks? So my question is, when I come in and I'm the 20th person, are the order of the people who are already in the room in sequential order, or is it random, or is it something else when I'm later?
When you're later.
In other words, if I'm...
You're saying under a saved gallery view?
No, I'm saying just as arriving. What order am I going to see of the people who are already here? I know the people coming in later will be at the end, but is there a sequence set?
I don't think I know the answer to that, because if I answered it only from my perspective, my gallery's perspective, we load up left to right, top to bottom, right? I mean, that's the order in which, people arrive and their, squares show up and land somewhere. But if when Mike shows up, he's going to be the, first one, and then others that join will follow as well. But I don't actually know where that initial layout definition comes from or is derived from when you show up, let's say, 3 minutes later than
so I'll leave and I'll come back and I'll tell you.
All right, let me make sure my order's off, though. Yeah, it is off. Okay. All right, that's what I love. I see people come and go to test things. Love it. Ray, make sure to let her back in.
So we're all supposed to laugh when she comes along and say, "Quick, don't tell her, don't tell her."
That's right. All
3,
right,
2, 1. Here's Lois.
There we go.
Wow. With audio. That was efficient. I'm impressed with that.
You heard that ding? Or are you just saying
we're not.
with her
We're not. You
connected on
didn't make us co-hosts. We didn't hear the ding.
Yeah. Well,
For
that's
me-
not the
for me,
only. That's
Lois-
not the only rule. That's actually an option, just for clarity, right? So on the back end portal, you can say those doorbells, let everybody hear them, or only let the host co-host hear them, which didn't used to be an option, but that's actually switchable. But you're correct in what you said, because I've set it to host and co-host only can hear that doorbell.
Lois, you've pushed yourself back in where you were on my screen, I believe. Just for your reference.
She didn't on mine. So she was on my left spot, second row, and now she's on the right end of my second row.
She's
And I
coming
would
in.
have claimed that she fell into the first available live video slot, but that on my screen would have followed Frank, and Frank is after Lois. Frank, did you happen to turn your video off and on since Lois re-arrived? That's why. Okay.
My wife's in her host coat, so I'm trying to be polite.
Gotcha.
So from my perspective, when I came in, it did not remember the order that I had put people in. And what I have is I have Jeff. I assume it's because he's the host. And then I have myself. And then I have, and I don't know whether it's Ray, Mike, and Robert, because that's how they came in, or I'm assuming that's how they came in. But I was surprised to see Betsy in there because she came in later, but she's in front of, it looks like the people with their videos off. It looks like host, self, and then co-host and everybody else with their videos on.
So and they didn't used to stack live video up top, and now live video is stacked up top together. I used to have to move the live videos of other pages up to page one and no longer have to worry about that. So proof being, hey, Mike, if you'll turn your camera off and then turn it back on, and we'll watch the adjustment. You're in spot 4, 5, 6. And now he comes back. Where is he? He's not back yet. There he is.
He didn't move for me.
Now he's at, and there a second ago, Hosmic was there, but Hosmic turned his camera off and Mike slid in. But it's the last live. There's this whole group of live video and then non-live video profile pictures. And then I think.
But it didn't do that, Jeff. It didn't do that for me.
It did on my screen for you.
He turned his video off, turned his video back on. He's in exactly the same place as he's been. Of course, I had moved one or two of these other things around. So maybe because I moved something, it's not auto refining.
That's possible. Yeah, because I mean, it's working as we're speaking to it. I have a sense that Betsy agrees that she's seeing video drops and turn back ons end up in that bottom live video spot, if you will. And that's the behavior I'm seeing.
Okay,
also.
So it must be because I moved something.
Yeah. Well, see, do you have a release video order under your view button on the top right?
I don't think so. Oh, I do. Release video order. Okay,
there
I'll
you
do
go.
that.
That's what's holding it. Yeah.
So now things have moved. Now let's see
Yep.
if I can get it back. I can't get it back.
Yeah. Well, you have to move a tile.
Move
again,
somebody.
And then you have the chance to save it and so forth. But well, cool. All right. So I mean, they've been doing. I almost think they're like little unannounced tweaks because these things. I agree. A lot of these things have gotten better, and they are features that I like. But I would love to see them all on feature release notes too, so that we can be aware and talk about them and so forth. So and use them.
That was the first time that I didn't even realize I could actually reorder. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's good stuff. I trying to think if there was any other notes I wanted on.
What about
Jeff?
the new audio, Jeff? The new audio into Breakout Rooms. Has anyone actually tried that or used that?
Yeah,
yet?
we did it last week. We'll do it again today, and it does work. I mean, as far as the hosts and what we didn't test, I can't remember if it came from the community or if I just thought of it, but it's like, I didn't see if a co-host can also do that.
We tested it on Friday, and the co-host did not have the capability. She only had a broadcast message. Yeah.
Yeah. So she could broadcast the message, which the old traditional broadcast message to all breakout rooms, they could do, but the ability to share to all and then broadcast audio to all, we'll confirm again today just by practice. Seems to be one of those right now, anyways, host only features.
So my follow-up question is, does that mean you could play a video into the rooms and you get the audio go through to the rooms as well?
Yes, yeah. We did that. We did that with success last week. So we'll test it again, and then while we're in breakouts, we'll take a look at what can we do versus what can't we do. I will say, did we do the red panic button last week or the week before? Those that were here last week or two.
You talked about it.
No, we did it. I think you had.
I must have left
because
I usually leave at 12:30.
Yeah, but yeah, the red panic button will kind of shut everything down except the meeting itself. In regards to breakout rooms, the documentation says it also closes the breakout rooms, turns off all the video, turns off all the mics, all this and that, and it closes the breakout rooms. I have never seen it do it.
Did it last week?
Nope, it didn't do it. I've tested it again just on my own with multiple devices and breakout rooms and so forth, and it doesn't ever seem to get to that point of breakout room closure. So, and then I went and double checked the documentation again. Hey, they updated this, and it still says it does it.
Were your breakout rooms perhaps having a delay? Because sometimes you can put in a 60-second delay or something. It might have finished its process before the delay time was up. Did you check that perhaps?
Well, what do you check? I mean, I didn't.
When you make the breakout rooms, you can say, when I close them, give them 30 seconds or whatever,
Sure.
Or you can make them instant.
Yeah. Well, there were let's say there were no indicators like that pop up that says they'll be closing in 30 seconds. So nothing caught my eye, but I didn't start a stopwatch either to see. But I think when we tested it a week or two ago, we were in that mode for some time, and the fact is the red panic button is not a locked in mode. It's the execution of a procedural script, if you will. So it's not staying in a mode that it recognizes as this panic mode. It just says you hit the panic button, it just goes boom, 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 and it's done. So the waiting for breakout rooms, I don't think there's this recognition of a mode for the breakout rooms to even be aware of, but we can give it a test. I mean, that's what I want to spend a little time, is just make sure we're all well aware of what we can and can't do and how we might get around it and so forth. Robert?
Yeah. When we go into the breakout rooms, if we have a bit of time, can we just have a look at polls and see what effect polls have in breakout rooms, and whether the co-host in a breakout room can actually call up a poll that is local to that breakout room?
Is there such a thing as a poll being local to a breakout room?
No.
Well, it was promised last January, but that doesn't mean it's working.
Yeah.
It was promised to be released first quarter this year.
Aren't all polls?
But no one's seen it. I mean, no one's practicing that. Okay.
Aren't all polls having to be created beforehand, and then you can implement them during the breakout room?
The account owning, if it's the account owning host, you can access the portal on the fly, and even from the client will pop you out to the portal to create new polls and so forth. So those can actually change. Those changes can take place on the fly.
Jeff, let me just reword what I was saying, is that if polls are defined and you are a co-host in a breakout room, can you call up a specific poll and will it be local to that breakout room? I guess that's the question.
Okay. I'd like to know as a host, if I go to a breakout room, which I don't do very often, but I will I have access to the polls? And I don't think I will. I just don't think they're accessible at all from a breakout room right now.
I have a request. I just did this the other day, and I wanted my instructors to be able to record themselves in their own breakout room. Yeah. And I wanted to know if the recording was accessible before I ended the meeting. If they could stop recording. Does anybody know that? Or could you give me the ability to record? Yeah, I'd love to know that.
Yeah, we can do both. We've done some pretty decent testing on this in breakout rooms even. So one, they're going to be local records, not cloud-based. And but the trigger to start the conversion process is triggered by the ending of the meeting. Although, I mean, I know there's workarounds. I'm pretty confident I could get a local recording workaround to convert prior to the end, but I haven't pushed it hard. But I've been in enough pickles, if you will, of conversions gone bad. Right? They won't start, or you double click them, and they sometimes they work, sometimes the double click doesn't work to start converting it. And I actually have a document that I wrote out on this procedurally. So in the past, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but if you have a recording that will not convert the traditional ways, and you can kick them off from within the client too, right? You can go to previous meetings, and if it's there, tell it to convert. But even sometimes that has breakage. But the file exists on your file system, and so what I'll do, what I've found out is I can start a new meeting, begin a local record. Now I know where that new location is for that meeting. I pause the record. Then I go change the files from this new one that was recording. I replace it with the one that won't convert. And here's the big trick. Do not unpause the recording and just simply go back to the meeting now that you've replaced those files and end the meeting. That, I've never had it fail, will trigger the conversion for that meeting, which is actually yesterday's, let's say, and it converts it. And that's how I kind of bust through those broken ones that don't convert well. So I might attempt that process during the meeting of your local record and breakout. And that would be the process that I would try to see if it actually works or not.
I have actually had somebody in the Netherlands send me her file through a cloud drive, and I put it in my local structure, and I was able to convert it, and it was glitching on her end. So.
Interesting.
And that wasn't, I didn't have to start a meeting and pause it, but that's very interesting. So I'd love to know, I'd love to try to see how people that I put one person in each breakout room to have their own practice session, and that they could record themselves. But if it's really technical, a lot of my people are very, they're not so tech savvy. So it happens pretty easy, but.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the benefit that, you have with a local record. If I sent you off with recording privileges right before you went out to a breakout room, you could record. You record, but you can also stop recording. And so stopping the record on your local record puts an end on that file, right? And so with that, my guess would be is the challenge is for most users, there's no way to just go make it happen. But you've got the smarts and the experience to now that you've stopped your local record, but you're still in meeting, open your file explorer and see if it ends up looking like that double click to convert file. And if it does, it may kick it off just fine. I'd love to know the results of that test. That'd be great. Because then then, you know, I mean, we all come back to the main session. You've had these 15 people recording, but the main session doesn't end for the next 30 minutes. But by the end of the meeting, these 15 people have uploaded their records, you know, so that would be a great time saver too. Cool. Robert, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just one other thing with breakout rooms and recording. When we do an event with a lot of interpretation and we go into breakout rooms by language, and we have to record something in there that we need to replay in the main room with the interpretation on, we will actually, in those breakout rooms, record it via either vMix or OBS locally, which you have available straight away, and then play it back in the main room and play it back in such a way that the interpreters can interpret it for everyone. So there'll be like small scenes in different languages. And that's just sharing with you because it wasn't so obvious to us that you could do it that way. And it's a bit of a workaround, but that's something that does work.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Robert, when you did that, did you use the option to make each audio file separate for each person?
No, that's a cloud-based option, right?
No, I was recording in OBS, so I didn't have that option, Jim.
Gotcha. Mike.
Sorry about that. I'm curious about the corrupt file, to know a little more about that. When you go into that directory, Jeff, from a technical standpoint, what file extension are you getting when the file is quote unquote corrupted at this point?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's that file that says double click to convert. I can't say that. A couple of things. I can't say that it really has an extension at that point necessarily. I could, you know, take a look at the properties, but I don't think it's extension driven because my PC shows all the extensions. But I can't sit here and say with absolute assurance that the reason it's not converting is because it's corrupt. I don't know what's hanging it up necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Something's stopping it, but I'm not sure that it's pure file corruption.
Yeah. What my impression of it is, coming from the technical end of it, is that it sounds like to me that when you guys initiate that the meeting is completing, and then that is when the record then establishes itself, correct, Jeff? Or is it already, like, until you exit the meeting, the file is not accessible, correct?
Yeah. Well, here, let's turn this into a little bit of a workshop now. So, a couple of things. One, I can't local record right now because I'm cloud recording. But any other co-host can locally record. You don't have to do anything more than make them a co-host. Go ahead, Robert.
No. If you make him a co-host, he loses the ability to local record. And if he presses the record button, he records to the cloud. It's your cloud recording.
So his button doesn't turn into a dual choice?
No.
No, he gets, if you have it set that you'll do cloud recording, then he gets the ability to turn on and off your cloud recording.
Turn on and off the cloud. Okay.
If you've allowed it to be turned off, of course, because you can set it as I do.
Yeah.
So you can't turn the cloud recording off.
I do.
You have to give the permission to do the specific permission for local files, to record local files, to record locally.
But not to a co-host.
I had two choices.
Indeed.
I had two choices, and I chose to record locally, but you're saying that and you all got the notice that it's recording, but you're saying that it went to the cloud, it's not recording locally anymore on my computer?
It depends on the settings that he put before he started the meeting for where the recording would be.
Oh, you know what? I stopped the record because I started the meeting so early, and I don't think I restarted this cloud record. So Ray, go ahead and stop your record, and I don't use my cloud recording anyway, so this will be the day I need it probably. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and, like a good host, record to the cloud. All right, so that's that. Notices are maybe out there. You don't have to clear it more than once, usually in the same meeting. But so now it's cloud recording. It says recording, and it's a cloud up there, not the circle around the little red dot. So
And
now
Jeff,
Ray, as a
Ray
co-host.
has cloud.
I only have pause, stop recording. I do not have local record possibility.
So-
and that's
so
the danger of having more
confirming
co-hosts.
what they've said is as a co-host, you've been given access to my controls of the cloud record and lost the ability to locally record. Now, one other step there, if I here, let me share my screen. Get everything put back together here screen wise. Okay, let me share my screen. Well, I want to show you what I'm going to be looking at to confirm. So you can see my, I'm looking there. That didn't show my gallery.
Have you got the enable people to see your Zoom screens?
Yeah, I think I did that a year and a half ago. I did switch to single monitor mode though, and that may be throwing some things here. So, all right, I'll leave that be. So for let's say Betsy, hey Betsy, when you're in that breakout room, can you do a local record? I will be responsible before just asking that, or after, before allowing Betsy to get to the breakout room. I've got to go to the participants window, and I have to grant, if you will, allow to record local files to Betsy. And I've just done that, by the way. Now, do you know visually on your computer that you have the power? How do you know? What do you see?
Yeah, I just got a banner on the upper right corner near the view button. It lasted about 5-6 seconds and it disappeared.
Okay. All right. So there was a notification that's now gone that said you've now got the ability to do just that. So for, let's say you know you're going to have 15 breakout rooms, you want an individual recording of each one, you're going to have to assign 15 participants, we've clarified, not co-hosts, you have to give them allow local record privileges, then open and send them to, or let them get themselves to those breakout rooms, and they'll get there with the privileges they were granted just prior to going there. What I also wanted to confirm is
the room was defined as local recording at the start. If you define the meeting as local recording at the start, then everybody would be local recording. Is that the exception?
I don't know.
It used to be, but I'm checking because I use cloud recordings totally now because I just get more formats.
Yeah,
so I don't know the answer.
Tons more choices in the cloud. Yeah. So what I want to just say out loud is Frank, Ray, whoever you want to be today. It only took one time. There were 2 or 3 Rays in the meeting, so he became Frank. And I've never been able to let it go. I don't know why. Anyways, Ray, if because he's a co-host, I want to say, can I still grant him those local record privileges? And it's not on my menu of choices for Ray in particular or any co-host. So just to clarify that. All right, so that's the local record portion. Think about, were you muted in the main session when you went to the breakout room? When you arrived in the breakout room, were you still muted, or did you arrive unmuted? Like, did it unmute you? When you're in the breakout room, were you unmuted or muted? And how did you arrive back in the main session? And we can test it as a group. We can say, okay, here we go, but everybody unmute and go, or everybody mute and then go. and see what the behavior is. Same thing with sharing. Think about, sharing, and can you share? How can you share? Can you share whiteboards as well? And see what that is. That's what I really want to dig down into, because quite honestly, we're still pretty spoiled in the main session with, features and so forth that don't readily or ever become available in a breakout room. And it's not a dog on Zoom. I mean, it could be, but just don't turn it into that kind of conversation. Awareness is readiness, right? When you've got a plan for a meeting, when you're gathering customer requirements, to be able to clearly and confidently say, no, we can't do that in Zoom meetings, but maybe we can in webinar, or vice versa, or that just simply can't be done. They've got to appreciate that, because it's better than saying it the day before. When you get that I've been that contractor who's come in to, produce or technically direct, that Zoom meeting. And I get to run a show, and I'm like, bing, 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 that is impossible, and they've already sold it. And worse than that, set all the expectations. And now it can't be delivered. And so that's a horrible position for any account manager to be in. But you want to catch those things as early as possible. So, any other thoughts going in and out of breakout rooms and limitations or whatnot before we kind of start practicing this? Got Frank with a hand up, and then I'll get to. Now I'm not going to know your first name. Is John, because you're not Ray. All right. Oh, not Frank either. You dropped your hand.
Oh, I was waiting.
You dropped it ready to talk. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
Dropped it ready to
go
talk.
ahead, Frank.
So I'm a Mac user. I don't know how many of you are using Mac, and maybe there's something similar on Windows. I don't know. But in the Zoom application on my Mac, I can open that application and navigate to a specific directory. And in that directory is a transcode app. And I can make a copy of that application and put it wherever I want in my applications folder. And then if I have a local recording that's not transcoding, I can actually go to that copy of the transcode app and try to open the local recording to try to get it to convert. I don't know if there's any exe like that on Windows that does the same thing, but it's kind of cool that there's one on the Mac.
Where on the Mac are you seeing it first? And you're saying in the Zoom?
Can I screen share?
You will be in a moment.
Sure. I'll just show you real fast.
Go ahead.
Share. All right. So get that out of the way. So I'm in my applications. I go to the Zoom app. I right click and show package contents.
Yeah.
I open this contents folder. I open the frameworks folder. And then if I scroll down, there's this transcode app right here. So I can make a copy of that, and then I can drag the copy to my applications folder. And once I do that, then I can use it to try to open a local file. Now, I don't know if there's a comparable thing on Windows. I try to stay off Windows most of the time, unless I have to. But I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know if you'll have success every time, but it's there.
I find somebody local to give you a big hug and a kiss. You clever boy. Yes, there is the transcoder app. I've just found it in the directory for Zoom. I've not tried running it, but there is a ztscoder.exe.
I'm trying to find a Zoom install folder. I'm not finding that on my PC.
Yeah, Zoom is really, really awkward. It's actually hidden in the roaming files.
Gotcha.
So it's in data roaming, for those that know what that is. So for mine, it's in my users, then my username, then app data, then roaming. But the easiest way to find it is to start with your link from Zoom, look at the properties, and then look at the properties of the short link, and you can follow it through from there.
Cool. Very good. All right. Well, let's do this then. Or John, did you have anything more to contribute prior to the breakout room stuff here? still had your hand up with them.
You were talking about the rules about how video and audio come on. I believe that it's got to do with the defaults that you've set for the meeting. So when you get thrown to the breakout rooms, you follow the rules that you set for the meeting before you started the meeting. So if you could check what those are so that we can see if maybe that's what happens to us. By default, I always set the audio as off. And then I find when everybody turns up to breakout rooms, they always get their audio off.
And then I just wanted to add that I noticed I can't share screen here. So I've always wondered if the share screen is turned off here to participants in the main room, if it carries over in the breakout. So
it is off here, and it will carry into the breakout rooms. I'll tell you that already. Yeah. Let's go confirm. I know this stuff is off, but I want to. Oh, I love caching. It's logged into the wrong account automatically.
Liberty wants to know what the folder is on the Mac again.
It's in the show package contents of the zoom.app file. Because apps look like a single file, but they're actually kind of like a zip file. It's a package of stuff. Okay. Zoom test kitchen settings. Mute participants upon entry is on. And the video, so video for host is off, video for participant is off. So, so off on video and mute on audio. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see how many live videos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Anybody else want to come on video and take part in this? Do it now. Otherwise, I'll create 4 breakout rooms. So my options, I'll just read them all out loud for breakout rooms. Allow participants to choose a room. I'll allow that. Allow participants to return to the main session anytime. I'll allow that. Automatically move. I won't force that because we're in the kitchen. You guys all know how to pull all that off. Got 8. I'll do an automatic move and distribute, so it just busts you up in 2s. They close after, I'll just put 10 minutes. I'll notify myself. I did have a question in the community yesterday that said this guy was frustrated because he couldn't find that ability to, where did that option go? I know it used to exist. Did they take it away? Is to extend the breakout room time. And the fact is it's not an upfront option as much as making sure that you tell it to notify you when the time's up. And when it notifies you, that's where the option is to either let them close or extend them on the fly. So, and then countdown clock. When you say close, I'll just set that to 10 seconds. All right, so now I'm going to, you can save breakout rooms as well. And if you wanted to apply that definition, it will be in your meeting configuration on the portal. That's where they get saved and referenced. But I'm just going to hit recreate all rooms.
And then I think, Jeff, sorry, I just want to interject.
Yeah.
I think that saving breakout rooms option is only when you've scheduled a recurring meeting. Like
That's true. Yeah,
right. That's true. Correct?
That's what it's tied to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, great point. Assign automatically, include co-hosts when assigning. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And here we go. Recreate that. So has in room 1, we've got 4, room 2, we've got 3, room 3, we've got 3, and room 4, we've got 3. And I want to hang on. I need to recreate that again because I don't want to send my streaming machine there. sign manually so we can avoid that problem. All right, so I'm going to open up 4. Nobody's assigned. Nobody's automatically going to get moved. Why don't we just make some pairs here? Betsy and John, you're a pair in room 1. Go ahead and choose room 1. Amur and Ray, you're a pair for room 2 if you'll choose that. And then Josh, welcome, by the way, and Frank, let's make you a pair for room 3. You can choose that. And then Robert, I'll join you, and then I'll come back as well. All right, I'm going to wait to join you so that my host and host permissions and presence don't change things, just in case, and then I'll join about 30 seconds after, and then we'll come back. All right, here we go. And I'll test, actually before I move to my breakout room. I'll share something to all breakout rooms, and let's say prior to that I'll broadcast my mic, then I'll share something, and then I'll go to my breakout room. All right,
Timer would be a great thing to share.
What's that?
A timer would be a great thing to share.
Yeah, that's true. I'll have to see what I can pull up real quick. All right, here we go. They're open. You guys can go ahead and move.
Not seeing the button.
Yeah, not seeing the button.
You see breakout rooms in your toolbar at all?
See open breakout rooms?
Nope.
On the list?
No, not appeared.
Well, my button says closable rooms. They're open according to my breakout room manager.
And the option was checked for us to be able to move about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me close them again.
Assign participants.
Close. Give it 5 more seconds and we'll rebuild them one more time. I didn't assign them, but I can. All right.
Frank,
so
did you see
options?
the
Oh,
breakout
here.
rooms?
Yeah, I did allow participants to choose room. I would have sworn I had it checked, but I didn't, Betsy. All right, so we'll recreate all rooms, 4 rooms, assign manually. Okay. So we've got, what did I say, Betsy and John. I've assigned you to room 1. And then Amur and Josh. And at this point, who's over there? Chill, he's not in front of his camera, so we'll get Robert and Ray. Let's do Robert and Frank instead. Okay, here we go. Did you get your pop-up now? There we go.
I changed my name midstream, and that probably affected that.
Yeah,
Because I changed myself to Frankly Ray, so I could get them both involved.
So let me assign you.
I'll get it back. You had me going to 2, I think. Put me wherever.
We got 2s and 2s. I'll have you join them in room 1. Okay. All right, so I think, let's try I just pressed my B key on my keyboard so I can broadcast my audio to all breakout rooms. And I'll pull up a file share. I'll play a video of my son playing a saxophone and make sure you can see and hear it. Give me just a moment. So I ducked the volume in the video so I can speak over my microphone to you. I'm anxious to see if this is working. It looks like it's working on my end. That's the end of my test. As long as you guys have been able to capture, were you muted? Were you still muted when you got there? What's your state of muting or not muting? And then what you'll come back into the main room as. So we'll see what those results are. Here they come. Okay, I can see on my participants list, everybody came back muted into the main session. I'm assuming some, if not all of you, were unmuted when you left the breakout room, but you came in muted.
Yeah, when I came
I actually saw the box which said the host had muted you, which I hadn't seen before. So that's probably because I'm a host too often. Yeah, that's better. Guys, if I'm so chatty and excited, there's a simple reason for it. I run these sessions on my own with 5 computers. And to do it some real humans is really quite exciting.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you something, John. The very first time I ran into that challenge over 2 years ago is the very reason I created the Zoom Test Kitchen. Literally, it was a very selfish move on my part. Is I just wanted some people in the meeting so I could test some things and get real feedback. So it's truly the reason we created this community. It's worked out great. So I'll be anxious. I obviously we can't do it, right now. But I've never heard anybody speak to it until today that John thinks that it's either possible or it is the rules. I've just never seen it or practiced it or heard it from anybody claiming it, that my meeting settings that say video off and audio off upon entry are actually in control of that breakout room to main session. I'm not fighting John on the theory. I always try to think out loud how I think Zoom has probably implemented it. And my guess would be Zoom has programmatically muted everybody coming back from breakout rooms, because if they didn't, it would be total mayhem and on bigger meetings. So, I mean, I reference it at times, this one group in particular, Josh has covered, where there's hundreds of people. I mean, at their largest, there are 800-900 people in one Zoom meeting, and we do breakout rooms.
But that wasn't always so.
Extra, yeah. Oh,
that wasn't always so. It was in the early days. People would all turn up with their cameras, with their microphones on, and yes, it used to be pandemonium. Yeah, absolutely a mess. So I think it's very, very intentional, but I love testing things and really understanding, what I call the undocumented behavior, right, and really identifying that. Robert.
Yeah, just before we went into the breakout rooms, I switched my mic on. And when I got into the breakout room, my mic was on and my camera was on. So that did not change. However, when I came back, my camera was on like I had in the breakout room, but my mic was muted.
So I'm going to, in the main room right now, allow participants to start video is enabled. I'm going to disable that. Allow participants to unmute is enabled, but I'm going to disable that right now. Now, it didn't kill anybody's mics or cameras, but if you turn your camera off, you won't be able to turn it back on. And same thing, if you're muted, you won't be able to unmute like you could previously. So let's split the group. I want like 4 of you to leave your cameras on going to the breakout room, and 4 of you to turn them off prior to going to the breakout room. And let's see how it manages that transition, knowing that the main room has disabled the ability to turn your mic or camera on. Okay, so let me reopen these breakouts. Okay, they're open again. Go ahead and choose. I'm going to go ahead and close the breakout rooms quicker than last time just to get the results. All right. So how did that go? Let me give you the ability to talk to me. All right, you can turn your cameras and mics back on.
Your controls have no effect on us in the breakout room, but they take effect when we come back. So I went in without a camera, and I was able to turn on my camera and turn off my camera. I was able to turn on and off my microphone.
So
but when I came back,
when you left, your camera was on or off, you said?
When I left, my camera was off, my microphone was off.
And when you got there, they were still both off.
Yep.
So you were still muted, video and audio, but you had the ability to turn them on.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Is it the
Everybody
right way
agree?
to think about it that you've muted this room? And so leaving this room for the breakout room meant that when we returned, this room was in fact still muted, and cameras and mics.
Yeah, we inherited the rules he put in this room. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so we still have to test the inheritance part, because your inheritance is referring to the in the web portal, the meeting settings, right? When you say inheritance, it's from the actual configuration of the meeting when I created the meeting, and that we still actually have to test. The other inheritance could be before you leave. We'll do this one more time. I'll go disable the ability to turn on your mic and camera again in this room. Then pick your pleasure whether your camera's on or off when you leave. But while you're gone, I'm going to go to the security icon and allow you to turn on your mic and your camera before you return, so that when you return, is it by chance inheriting that? So when you return, leave your mics and cameras on in the breakout rooms and see if that all carries over or partially carries over. My guess is you're going to come in muted any way you look at it, but your video will probably stay on, even though that'll happen. So because you couldn't turn your cameras on when you re-arrived, you definitely hit that barrier coming back, and because I just had profile pictures, but let's give that a shot. So while you're away, I'm going to disable the ability to turn them on. We're going to send you away. While you're gone, I'm going to re-enable that ability, and let's see if you have to intervene coming back to turn mic or camera on, or if they'll just remain on because that barrier's not up. That would be great. All right, here we go. So I'm going to disable it so nobody can unmute. Nobody can start their video. Breakout rooms are now open. Okay, I'm going to close them. Okay, we got some video popping back up. So looks like if you were on, you remained on. But you're all muted. So it allowed your video to stay on, but it didn't allow your audio to stay on, even though I'm allowing you to unmute in this room. Make sense? So it let the video carry through on and on both, but your audio was on. I'm allowing you to turn it on, but it cut you off and muted you on the way back to the main session. So that is by design. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the dialogues appears to be significant. This time coming back, I saw the dialogue, the host muted everyone. The last time I came back, it was the host has muted you, I believe was the dialogue. I don't know if anyone else
Interesting. Yeah. So when I'm enabled, when participants are enabled to unmute themselves, you're saying it said, I've muted everybody. I haven't muted any. I didn't mute anybody, nor did I disable the ability for you to get unmuted. I actually did exactly the opposite. But you're saying this most recent message was the host muted everybody?
Yeah, so it wasn't personal. I didn't take it personally, Jeff.
Yeah, no. It's interesting. So it makes it feel like it's the whole group, when in fact, when you get here, you'll be muted. That's why they're popping up a message. But you could unmute yourself because it's actually enabled. Where on the other hand, I had it disabled explicitly. And now that time you said they popped a message that felt a bit more personal because your profile hit a rule that kept you muted. It sounds like they've made a differentiation in messaging, or maybe it was two development teams who wrote. You know what I'm saying? It could be something as simple as that.
Well, there's something else we can test too, and I've noticed it as well, where if you were to mute me right now, I get a pop-up message that says the host has muted you, but also the co-hosts have the ability as well. And I've seen it kind of muddied to where you'll actually get a different dialogue message, almost giving away who's.
So I'm assuming that was Ray.
So I got the host. I just got a generic message, the host.
Okay, so now I'm going to mute you.
And it says the host has unmuted and unmuted you.
So I take all the blame for everybody.
This is fun, though. We can mute Josh together at the same time.
We can't. Yeah. When you're live, that's not fun. I can tell you that. It's like you have three people with the power to do it, one person who's designated to do it, and all three people realize we just missed something, so everybody tries to fix it, and that really screws things up. And
thou should not use a toggle. That's the law they've broken.
That's it.
Betsy has a report on local recording.
Yeah, so I was able, Jeff, I started the recording before we went to the breakouts, and then it carried forward. It continued recording when we were in there. And then you brought us back out, and I stopped the first one, and then I started another one. Didn't know if that had any connection to this, which is currently paused. And I went out to the Zoom app, and I went into my local recordings, and it converted. It took a while. When you kept sending us back in and out, I wasn't doing those tests. I was concentrating on the converting, and it took a while, but it converted. Fabulous.
So you saw the file and you double clicked to convert, and it triggered it even while you were in meeting and all. Good.
One thing, I think it was John earlier who said, I'm always the host. I'm leading instructor development workshop, so I'm rarely the participant. So today I'm your participant, which is very rare. And the fact that I can see, I'm on a Mac too, by the way, and the fact that I can bring up the Zoom desktop client, I can usually never see that. So I can go to my meetings tab. I can go to the recorded. And I clicked convert. I normally cannot do that as host. I don't know if that Can you do that as host, even on a Windows computer? Can you bring up your, because I usually cannot do that. I can't bring up.
You're talking about the initial, like the Zoom dialogue when you start the application?
Yeah. With the,
I can do that.
Yeah.
I start on the green shield and I can move.
Well, I mean, I have a separate window on my desktop that's just the Zoom app, the one that says join or schedule or, meetings and all that stuff. So that's
Okay,
all
you
still
can. That's
accessible.
Funny. Anyway, the fact that I could get there and, on the meetings tab, it gives you upcoming and recorded. I think that's what it says. It shows you the record. Yeah. Upcoming and recorded.
Yeah.
And then I went to recorded. I see Zoom Test Kitchen. And then I had a convert button.
Yeah. And that's that. I think Zoom's documentation is that process to try to fix one that didn't do it when you ended the meeting successfully, is to go that path to the recorded, and then tell it to convert. And it certainly can cure some things. It's just when the documented methods don't work, that one I talked about earlier commonly can.
Are there any settings? And the reason I'm just saying this out loud, because I help a lot of people who are not so tech savvy, and when I'm speaking to them, and they usually don't get it that they have this desktop application installed on their computer. They associate Zoom with the web, and whenever I have them go to their taskbar in Windows or their dock in a Mac, they usually cannot get to that, like you said, that dialog box with that orange button and the 3 blue buttons.
Yeah.
They usually can't navigate to it when they're in a live meeting with me. Is there a setting that makes it behave that way? Or, can everybody hear, since you're capable of doing that? Can you all see is that something new?
So I have a Mac that's in the meeting right now and next to me. And when I, like Windows, the Zoom icon turns into a you can tell it's there's like multiple windows representing Zoom in Windows, but on the Mac, it doesn't do that, but it just remains that single Zoom button. But when I click on that Zoom button, even while there's a meeting going on, what it does is it brings that Zoom application up in front of the gallery view. And now if I click it again, it hides it, and then it comes back, and then it hides it. But when it brings it up, instead of the orange join button, that orange button says back to meeting, right? And so it should, with guidance, just pop up. But
Betsy, can I try that one?
Mm-hmm.
Jeff has authentication switched on this meeting. So we wouldn't have been able to get in without logging into the Zoom app. Usually, if you don't have the authentication switched on and you're holding a meeting, people can get into the meeting without logging into the Zoom app. So that's why they won't see it.
That's correct. Thank you. That's very good. I wonder if I start holding some meetings, just teaching them that they need to have their account, even if it's free. That's great. Thank you. Great idea. Brilliant.
Cool.
Well, I'm trying to look to see if I kept that. I was messing with something the other day. Yeah, it's still there. Require authentication. Yeah.
It's definitely there because I couldn't get in today.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's, I remember yesterday in the community that I was perusing through, questions, and there were 2 different individuals on different days who was asking for guidance on, standing up a meeting that's just always there and available, Now, the one that, it's not impossible to do. It's just, I don't like it as far as security standards go, because you have to allow people to join a meeting where maybe the host isn't there, right? Unless, that's what they didn't provide. It's like, oh, are you saying you're going to be in this meeting all the time waiting? Because one was like for prospective clients to show up and get a demo. It's like, no, this was tennis in particular, Tennis Pro of some sort. And it's like, no, you're probably going to be out there teaching a student or this, that. So how do you even know? How are you going to respond? And, it's kind of like leaving the front door open of your store and having nobody there to greet, And so it was a little bit of an odd request. The other one was they wanted to stand up a room that was kind of always available, but didn't consume a device. It's like, well, that kind of promises me you're not going to be there, So some requests is kind of like, have you thought through what you're asking for, And it's not always just a tech question that I'm referring to. It's like kind of a human question too, when you want to sell and demo and so forth. So we didn't even ask, my broadcasting of audio, did that always seem to come across that I announced prior to sharing the video? When I played the video,
and it dipped. It dipped.
Yeah,
we would have rather heard the saxophone, but we've heard that one before.
Yeah, I know, right? I play the same video all the time. But you heard the ducking, and you heard my voice come over it, which.
Oh.
So when it ducked, I was talking, and that's why it ducked. I ducked it so that I could push the B broadcast key on my keyboard and talk over it. And Josh is saying you didn't hear my voice when I ducked it.
Jeff, I was with Frank in the breakout room. He could hear you. I couldn't. And it's probably because I have an older version of Zoom. So if we want to test that, I can go out and come back in.
Okay. So Frank, you heard me talking over the duct saxophone. Okay, good. So we know it works, and I think Robert's right on top of it. It absolutely could be a version issue, because it's not a feature that doesn't let you join the meeting if you don't have the version.
You have to have the version that was introduced with it for it to work.
For it to work, but my point is
to hear it.
Yeah, to be able to hear it. But there's some new features, some of the waiting room advanced features, and the editing of breakout rooms while they're open. If you turn those two groups of features on, you either get to that version when joining the meeting, or you don't get in the meeting. Like, they're deal breakers, where this is, you just won't hear. Yeah, which is nice. You're in, but you just didn't have the same experience. So.
And Jeff, where did you send your vocals for during that share? So you physically ducked.
So I shared. I did the advanced share video, and had to explicitly check to all breakout rooms, and so that was playing. And then when I duck, the way to broadcast my mic only is just to press and hold the B key on the keyboard for broadcast. And so while the video was playing, I took my mouse and pulled the volume down and pressed the B key so I could broadcast my voice over it. Was that what you were asking?
I don't think we heard that. And I think I have a latest version.
Okay. So, Robert, you're back and you're on the latest version now?
Let me tell you what happened. I checked my version, and it was 5.11.1. And I checked Zoom, and I thought, oh, that's the latest version. And then when I looked at it again, it's 5.11.10.
Yeah. 5.11.10 is the latest right now. So is that what you were on before?
No, I wasn't. I was on .1, not .10.
Oh, okay. All right. So you want to go to a breakout room and test that again? Mm-hmm. Let me rebuild these, and I won't auto assign anybody. I'll just let you go there.
I imagine the build was later than 6602 for 1.0.
Yeah, that's exactly the version that I had before upgrading.
All right. So, Robert, I'm going to open these and go ahead and just pick a room. And if anybody else wants to pick a room and go, you certainly can. But then we'll do a share and a broadcast over the share test one more time. Mainly because Robert will be able to verify for us that
I can't see the breakout rooms, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the button either.
Oh my goodness! I wonder if this.
Interesting.
I have a feeling there must be something that I'm doing that's causing it to uncheck that. Because one of the very first things I did, and it's unchecked again. Allow participants to choose a room. Allow participants to return. Close and notify. We're good there. Okay, it's still there. I'm going to go recreate. Recreate. Let participants choose. Recreate. Open. That better?
Yep, got it.
All right. All right, so I'm picking under share advanced video. I check marked share to breakout rooms. I'm going to click on share. I click on share. Here's my video. I'll hit play. Now I'm going to get ready to duck the volume. Now I've ducked the volume on the share and I'm broadcasting over that by pressing the B key on the keyboard. And now we'll go back up. All right.
And the share was in this room as well, Jeff.
It was.
Which is what I wanted to check because I didn't know if the share stayed in here as well as it does.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it does. It stays here, and because I did the share advanced video, it just was a small floating video window for me, so really easy to manage as well. Closing the rooms now.
Yeah, Robert and I can confirm in room 1, perfect. Worked perfectly.
Cool. Sounded good. Looked good. Ducking
looked
over.
good.
Yeah,
Audio
awesome.
and video were in sync this
That's
week.
great.
Perfect. It's
Cool.
okay. It's working now.
So your newer version made the difference. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And that's
so not a negative experience that you had previously, but a missed experience, right? Like you didn't even know you missed it necessarily.
Well, I did because Frank told me.
But
Jeff,
it's
did
good.
you turn
It's
your
good to
volume
know.
down? Did you turn
Yeah,
your
on this
mic
last
volume
one,
down
yeah.
first? Okay.
My mic. No.
Yeah, you said so did it automatically?
I turned the volume down on the video, and then I spoke over it when I ducked it.
Jeff, just to clarify, that was on vMix, right? That you turned the audio down?
Nope.
Oh.
No, I that was a Zoom advanced video share, and it just ends up being this kind of floating video player window. You can make it as large or small as you want.
It transmits your system audio is what it sends. So if you're playing or if you get a bing bong because somebody's just sent you an email, it's your system audio that you're sharing for the video sharing, and that is still separate to your microphone, which is just seen as a separate input to that.
Yeah. And it has that video player that isn't built into the Zoom video sharing tool has a volume control. And so I just pull down that player's volume a bit, press the B key to broadcast my voice, and then just reverse that.
So just for me to clarify, vMix was not involved at all. You just loaded it into the player of Zoom.
vMix had nothing to do with, my mic is always going through vMix, but I didn't touch any faders in vMix to make that experience happen. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And Jeff, if I can just say that for those of us who want to use interpretation, never ever play a film like that because it goes through as a system sound. When the interpreters speak, it doesn't drop the system sound volume.
Yeah.
Like, it just messes it up totally.
Well, or how about, so help me with this, since that's the business you own, is knowing that could we do a level test ahead of time so I could play the video and know what volume level to set it to so that it would be a little lower volume for everybody, but it wouldn't mess up the interpreters? Would that be achievable?
No, you'd play it through the microphone. So you'd use vMix to play the audio through your microphone, and then it would duck, because then it would be seen as audio, normal audio. That would be the workaround.
But to answer your question, Jeff, I haven't done it that way, because I find that when you drop the system sound, you're actually dropping the sound down for the interpreters, so the interpreters can't hear it to be able to interpret what they're hearing. So the only way to do it is we actually run those things through vMix or OBS as a participant.
So are you guys saying that me playing that video, that its sound is being considered system sound?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's true.
It is
now I have to test it, because so that means if I turn my volume down on Windows speakers, that I won't have any volume in that Zoom video share player either. I mean, that's what you're saying, and I don't know. I don't particularly think that's true, which means we're going to go test it. And so
I love your healthy skepticism. I love it.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm going to, you know what? Let me just test something here real quick. Let me bring up the Windows Mixer, because that'll show me levels and so
I agree
forth.
with Jeff on this too, in the regards of if that is what Zoom is doing, that's dangerous a bit, because you're starting.
I mean, to say that would say that while I'm playing that saxophone with audio, that if I get a Windows chime, it's going to go through too, because it's a system sound, and I don't think that's true. No one's ever heard my system chime when I'm in the meetings. You know what I'm saying? So I find it tough one to digest.
Yeah, but Jeff, you've switched that option off in Zoom, so the system sounds don't come through.
I thought, Robert, you reminded me too. I think there is a checkbox in the settings of the software where you can actually disable system sounds. Where? I don't remember.
So when you do a share and there's the option, isn't there? There's a share. There's an option in the top left that says share system sound, and that's the traditional way a lot of people are going to play content to their users. They're going to screen share.
So under the share screen settings, there is an option that I have checked: silence system notifications when sharing the desktop is what it's kind of tied to. And I try to read their stuff literally. So that's not just sharing; that's sharing desktop. Is that a screen? And is that different from sharing the application? That's my question of being really granular. Are they saying desktop synonymous to screen sharing, or are they just saying anything on your desktop, whether it's an application or a screen, we're going to silence the notification? I tend to think they don't mean screen shares. They mean shares in general, that they'll silence the notifications. So, okay, that's good. That's a good reminder. So if I were to share again, let me share advanced video, share locally, just grab, here's his.
Do you have any bing bongs?
Do I have any what?
Bing bongs.
What did you just say?
Yeah, system notification sounds.
Oh, Bing bongs, is that what you said? Call them?
Well, you could actually go on Windows if you wanted to. You could actually go to the notifications tab and manually do that. It's in an old control panel.
Yeah,
Bing
to
it up.
test the sounds. Yeah, that's true.
Could be a Bing J if you want.
You're going to get a copyright strike.
You think they own these sounds?
For the Windows error side?
Well, maybe the Windows error.
The Windows ones, I sort of know without 100% that they do.
All right, I've got that up. Which one do you think is safe? Asterisk, close program. That one's probably taken.
Bing is, but Bong is not.
Default beep. Do you hear these? You don't hear them right now, right?
No.
Okay. All right. So I hear it in my ear is all. Okay. I just that bling. I'll that's the one I'll play when I start to share as well. And if I was trying to see if it would register on my mixer, but it doesn't. It's not loud enough. There we go.
Oh, I heard that.
That wasn't me though. All right, so here's my son playing me a happy birthday song this time. I'll at least mix it up. All right, so that's the share. Here goes the audio. I'm going to duck it so I can play a system sound. Can you still hear it? Did you hear it? Did it mute? It never muted. You heard him play the whole time.
Yeah. No volume change.
So what are you talking about?
No, during the whole performance, there was no volume change.
Okay, but I mean, played as norm. You could hear what he's playing, the whole bit, right? So that was a Zoom advanced video share. Volume was set at about 75% in the player, and my system sound was untouched, and I usually run at about 75 to 80%. And so he was playing. Then I ducked it, and I banged on a Windows sound a few times, and don't think you heard it that. And then I brought him back up, and then I went to my mixer and I turned my system volume down completely, which was everything: system sounds, breakout rooms, Zoom, and vMix. They all came down to 0. And you said you still heard him playing. So there's some separation there, obviously, in that sense. Although I have the check for the system sounds, not to broadcast those while I'm sharing. So I can't probably change that on the fly while I'm in the meeting, but I mean, I can change it, but I don't think it'll change. So, but I couldn't hear him play. Like, I turned everything down. I couldn't hear him play. I couldn't hear you guys talking to me. I mean, I was like audio dead in the water. But he was still sharing, and you could still see and hear him as well. So that I think it's good to know. I mean, it's a good behavior in the worst circumstances. If somebody accidentally pulled their volumes or whatnot. So
the idea is
and the other thing is when you're trying to coach somebody to fix something, realizing that that's really not effective anyways. I mean, it's not going to, that Windows mixer is really not going to make a difference, even if you turned it all the way down. Kind of saves time that way as well.
That's one of the reasons why the advanced video sharing is the best way to share anything on Zoom. It's that it's sending the data up, and which is helpful too whenever you may have inconsistencies in your signal. It's got some buffer to it. It'll send it, and it's not something that you can accidentally show the little particulates on the screen if you don't have the video sharing clicked off, and you can't bing bong it accidentally.
Cool. I was just trying to make sure I wasn't missing stuff in the chat. Betsy confirmed, in case anybody didn't hear on the YouTube as well, that she's able to, one, I granted privileges to local record. She did that while we're in meeting, in and out of the breakout room, right? You kept that local record going, and then you stop the local record. Commonly, most users are comfortable with, ending the meeting, kicks off the conversion trigger. You said, no, I want to be able to convert that. So you went to it via the Zoom client recordings tab and told it to convert, and it did, even while you were still in meeting. Or I'm confident you could have gone to the file system, found that file that says double click to convert, and it would have done it there as well. So that was a good find. In my world, production, we said, at the beginning was if you got those local record assignments of 10, 15 people, they all go out, they get their local records. We know Run a Show says everybody's coming back to the main session to wrap things up, and you've got, 20, 30 minutes ahead of you. If you've got a staff of local recorders who have the ability to, technologically start that conversion during that main session closing period, then you can start collecting that data, and it won't be such this lingering list of time and tasks following the meeting versus getting a lot of it done during the last part of the meeting as well. I love it. So that's a good find, Betsy. Good stuff. The let's what time is it? It's going on 2 hours. Let's stick on the breakout rooms, because the one thing that we haven't really focused on is sharing. I've been sharing from the main session broadcast method, but now individually. So if let's say we'll do 3 breakout rooms. If John, see if everybody's good with this. John, Mike, and Josh, if you can get yourself prepared with something you feel comfortable sharing, I'll just give you that heads up now, and then let's prepare that. Is my settings in the main room, like normal, is allow participants to share screen. That is disabled. Nobody can just share. And then there's another option you have to look at, is the little up caret next to the share screen button, is when you're host or co-host, is who can share, and that's host only or all participants. Now, it seems like it's a different setting. It's like, is that a different setting? And let me see if I can. I don't know why my screen didn't share earlier. Let me see if it'll do it now. I don't know why that's doing that. It's just showing my desktop. Really strange. I changed something, but I don't know what. Anyways, the security icon where I disabled the ability for all participants to share screen, if I left that open while I had this share screen option of who can share, everybody or host, they'll both change together. The check mark, although I'm changing radio buttons here, that check mark's going to come on and off. They're identical. And so if I go to all participants, then if it's everybody, then you have to think about the next step is, well, who can start a share if someone else is already sharing? And you don't want, students and others to hammer on each other and cause all that. But so you normally have that on host only.
So
and,
Jeff,
yeah.
could you just reiterate, what did you just change that gave me the ability to get the share screen options? Did you go to your green button and go to the little caret next to it?
It can be, so right now I'm on the up caret of share screen. It says advanced sharing options, host only or all participants. I changed that to all participants. Oh. What I was describing there is I could have just as easily, I'm going to put it back to host only. And now your option went away, right?
Yes.
Now I'm going to go to the security. Now, so it's on host only, but now I'm going to go to the security shield and I'm going to enable participants to share screen. And you'll have exactly the same experience. And if I go back to the share screen, now it's selected on all participants, although I didn't put it there, but I did by check marking. So it's just two different places and methods to control exactly the same.
Could you also test for me in the up caret, there is an option for multiple participants can share without going into advanced. And if you just choose multiple, I just want to see if that gets me in.
I don't have a multiple. Here, let me, since my screen sharing's giving me problems, bear with me. I'll do this through vMix instead.
Sorry, Betsy, you referring to allowing multiple people to share screen or for multiple people to share screen at the same time?
Usually when I'm a host, and if they don't have the ability, I just go to that little caret and I don't go to advanced, I just choose multiple rather than, or I'm telling someone to do that. If they usually think they have to make someone a co-host in order to give them the ability to share. And I always tell them, you don't, you have this other way. And I've always just done multiple. I know you don't have to do that, but it's just right there. It's without going into advanced. That's what I just wanted, now that I'm in participant role today, I wanted to see what it looked like on my end.
What we use multiple for is to allow more than one person to share at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then the attendee can choose which a share he wants to see.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So typically in our situation, what we do is we'd have one version of the presentation in English, one version, say, in French, one version in German, and people clicking on them, keeping them in sync. Mm. And then, depending on the audience, they would choose the language version of the share that they want to view.
Nice. I haven't seen that in a while where in I believe it shows up in the share bar of the person receiving the share. I think it's under view options. That's where I get my choices. Correct. That's nice. So they see the different, what do? Do you name the person, at least the person sharing, as to what language it is so that it's shown there in the menu?
We usually have a user who is just called the language.
I see. That's wonderful. I have to go, everybody. I tell you, I would hang out with you all for the rest of the day. But 5 p.m. here on the East Coast, and I've got a family party to go to. So
yeah, well, pleasure having you here. Thanks for testing with us, and
absolutely love it.
What we enjoy doing. So if you have any questions, YouTube, look at what you're not able to stick with later. Just replay it towards the end, and you can see what else we do here.
Thanks so much, everybody. So, I'll try to come next Friday. Take care.
You bet. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. So the share. So that's the initial option. So I here's this the way I normally run my meeting. Right, is people don't have the ability to share. The downside to like the options that like Betsy was talking about. I've made a conscious decision. Like earlier when Frank wanted to share, what did I do? I made him a co-host. And that is the the reason in my world is this. If Frank says, hey, I want to share, and I go allow participants to share so he can share, and because I want it to be a momentary give. I don't want to give all these privileges and let them stay. I want it to be momentary. You can't allow participants to share screen until they start and then turn that off. It will kill their share. Not everything, like audio and video doesn't do that, but not allowing them to share screens will literally kill their share on the fly. But co-host doesn't do that. So I say, make Frank co-host, wait till a share shows up, unco-host him, and he can still share. Now, he can't stop and restart, but he can continue to share what he was intending to share. And so for me, that was a conscious decision that I could, co-host and unco-host. I think in this case, I didn't unco-host him, but that was the ability. I could turn on and turn off just enough time for him to start sharing. And because at the same time, I don't want to make the wrong people co-hosts for any length of time, because there's just far too many privileges with that, and it just messes things up. It's not meant to say they're bad people, just accidents happen all the time. If they've never been a host or a co-host on a critical, show or deliverable, you're gonna end up having problems. So usually they're
Good
accidents.
people can have bad machines.
That's true too. That's true. All right. So the way I run the meeting right now is no one can share. And that's the way it's going to be. I'm going to open up breakout rooms and go ahead and go in there now. Truth be known, the only one going in there as a co-host is going to be Frank. So Frank probably will have a different experience than everybody else as far as being able to share. Just a heads up. But let's confirm that, and then we'll work with this. Okay, breakout rooms. Open. I'm just going to open 4 again under the same options. Yeah, they should all be the same. You guys should be able to pick a room and go. All right. Okay, looks like everybody's out in 3 different rooms, plus the main room is me. I'll broadcast them a message here shortly, audible message to all breakout rooms by pressing the B key on the keyboard, which seems to have been working great today. So I'll let them know I'm going to shut things down in about 15 seconds. And here we go. The other thing I'm looking at is I can see in the breakout room window, I like it. I can see the microphone activity of each individual, and I can see video cameras as well. And I can see right now, nobody is audio muted or video muted. And I can see some bouncing sound levels as well, which is helpful. We know there's conversation. We know they're not muted and all that. So that status is a nice add-on lately. Okay, guys, I'm going to close the rooms here. All right, 10-second countdown. Here they come.
All right. I'm back.
All right.
Jeff, was I supposed to be able to share in the room when I was there? If not, if I was, I can't. I couldn't.
Good.
Okay.
Anybody else could anybody else share? Could Frank share?
I didn't try because I thought it was an unfair advantage. Sorry.
Yeah, but you would have been able to confirm for everybody who's watching this video 6 months from now. But anyways, the answer would have been you were the only co-host that got sent to a breakout room, and you would have been able to share with that privilege in particular. Nobody else could share. And it's just important to know, if you want them to be able to share right before I open the breakout rooms, I have to enable screen sharing for all participants. Right now, you can't do it in the main room, but now I'm going to do it. Since I'm not being able to share my desktop very well, I apologize online, but I'm going to click on allow participants to share screen, immediately followed by open the breakout rooms.
Okay. And can you turn it off when we're in there to see if we lose the privilege?
Yeah, so I'll announce audibly that when I'm going to turn it off. All right, that's fair. Good test. There we go. And they're open. Okay, so I'm going to assume, because I'm not watching a breakout room, that you guys can share and are. I'm going to, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, allow participants to share screen is now disabled. And then I'll give it 10 or 15 seconds. I'll bring you back and you guys can report back to us. Okay, so let's close the breakout rooms. 10 seconds. And we'll see. I don't know the answer to this one right now. You know, does me disabling share screen interrupt their share while they're in a breakout room? So we'll find out. I'm going to guess it won't, but there's a part of me that itches and says it might. All right, who wants to report back?
Well, I got the shared menu, but before I could share it, it was taken away. So we'll just assume it worked.
So who successfully shared, and were you interrupted? Did your share die when I changed the setting back? So it kills the share not only in the main room, but it also kills those shares in the breakout rooms if you're not a co-host. That's really, really, really good to know. Yeah. I'm not in love with it, but I understand where it's coming from, because I'd like to, be able to tighten the main room down again. But, with the advent now I've got to go look up Zoom OSC. And if I'm pretty sure I can do it now with Zoom OSC, is enable screen sharing, disable screen sharing. It'll just become one of those actions. When I close breakout rooms, I'm also going to disable screen sharing, knowing that you're done with it and you're coming back, and I want to secure my main room down, right? But if the main room, let's say it's a job, and you go, okay, we're going to have 10 breakout rooms, and the 11th one that we need, we're going to just keep that in the main room. Question is they're going to need to screen share potentially as well. But if you had a main room that you still wanted to keep secure as far as screen sharing while everybody's in breakout rooms, screen sharing, you wouldn't be able to do that combination. So they're saying knowledge is just super helpful in planning and execution.
So the one thing that I did notice, Jeff, was when you actually said you took it off, and I was in the share screen where I had the basic advanced. As soon as you said you're shutting it off, that died.
It killed it. Yeah. So we've confirmed that it is. It's to know it. It is like, let's avoid. It's like an kind of an oh crap moment that the host just screwed up all the breakout rooms, right, and doing their own shares. But so you avoid that. But the other thing is you're well prepared in the sense. I remember, I was part of it is like, the intention was to go into breakout rooms and do a record, but also share. And you go, crap, I forgot to make so-and-so and so-and-so co-host first, right? And so they had to come back, and I'd have to, because I can't go there because I can't designate a co-host when I'm in a breakout room. Can't do it. And so they have to come out to the main session. I have to grant them those privileges, and then they have to go back. So it, just is planning right before and so forth. So, and then teaching and informing, right? It's like, hey, you're going to have to be, a co-host, or you're going to have to see that little pop-up bubble that I've given you local record privileges. Now, keep in mind, local record privileges, if you had, those 10 people designated, you can do that at the very beginning of a meeting, and breakout rooms may not take place till, an hour later. I would do that early if there's no harm in doing that. But, if you want to keep your main room secure, no screen sharing, then that's one of those switches that I'd have to turn on just prior to. And there's no notifications to you, the attendees, that's been enabled, but the expectation is to be able to go in there and screen share. And now I think as well, if I went to screen share, all participants can share, and all participants can start a share when somebody else is sharing. I've turned both of those things on. So anybody can share and anybody can interrupt anybody. Okay. I think that will also carry into the breakout room. And so we'll give that a quick test. So, do it somewhat coordinated. Frank, go ahead and share, knowing that Mike's going to interrupt you, but do it in a, fairly organized way. And, but let's just confirm that extra additional interruptive option carries into the breakout room as well. So here we go. All right, they're open. Amers with Josh, Frank. John, Frank, Josh, Amer, Robert, and Mike. Okay, got pairs in every room. Let them test this out and confirm. So just let you guys know what I'm telling YouTube as well is I can see the audio activity of you guys talking in the breakout rooms. I can see that the video is not muted either. So, but I can also see green icons come up. So I'm looking at room 1 with Mike and Robert, and I do not see any indication that you're actively sharing. Although I did see, there we go. Now it's on. And, but it's nice that these green up arrow, I think they're up arrows, icons come up that let me know, the host, that there's a share going on. Because if I shared all breakout rooms, it's going to interrupt anybody who's sharing. So I could use this as a visual cue of readiness in the breakout rooms that it's okay for me to turn my share on now with kind of the least amount, if not no impact to current shares. All right, I'm going to close things down. Let's see if it worked. See if they were able to stomp on each other.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So I tried to share a video, and I actually got the format of an MP4 file that was a fairly normal MP4 file. It was unsupported.
There.
Video. Try another one. And then Robert, that's why we were a bit delayed on our room.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then Robert shared. And I did notice that when Robert shared, I did try to share again, and it said, "Do you want to take over the share?" A pop-up actually came up.
So it just said, "Hey, you really want to interrupt somebody?" Which was one, you had the ability to, because that's why I asked you. So yeah, that permission, and somebody else confirmed that you did. You opted into that. Say, hey, your partner in the room was sharing, and you interrupted them knowingly interrupted them, but had the ability to interrupt them by starting your share? Who experienced that?
Actually, it's 2 stages, isn't it? So you are asked if you want to interrupt them. You interrupt them, but then you go and choose your share. So you could actually use that feature to kick them off without sharing yourself.
So their share. Are you saying that their share died and then you had to go select?
Yes, the dialog box to say, do you want to stop the other person's share comes first, and then you get the chance to choose what you're going to share. So it's 2 stages.
I kind of wish it wouldn't do that, in the sense. I wish you'd be ready so that it was just a cleaner cut between the two. But
I wonder if it didn't used to do that. So it shut off right at the point where you said yes, and not when you selected the video.
So yeah, the setting is still there. So
because what we've done before is it was a way to cheat and queue your video ahead of time, so you could play back-to-back videos while someone was already queuing. But if they change that behavior, then you would no longer be able to do that.
Yeah, let's check it, because obviously my experience was that was what happened. So let's make sure that's the experience all the other people see.
All right. So I'm sharing an application, and somebody go ahead and try to stomp on that with your own share.
So I said yes.
And we got to your desktop. Okay.
John, when did it looked like it was instantaneously sharing.
It didn't seem the same experience to me than when I did Frank's.
Yeah, so let me do it again. I'm going to share that again, and I'm going to watch.
Do you want to do that again, John?
Yeah, okay, I'll talk you through what I'm doing. So I hit the screen share button. I get this will stop screen sharing. Do you want to continue? I hit yes. He hasn't disappeared.
My share still,
it's still live. When we were in the breakout room, I'm sure that Frank's share disappeared.
So now you're picking and choosing the share.
Now, and at the point of sharing, I then stop you.
Pretty quick drop and restart.
Yeah, but
so you're saying there was
the same experience in the breakout room now.
Well, when I'm opening these rooms, is it automatically sending you guys there again, or are you picking your way back in?
We get the invites.
Yeah, we get the invite. Then we have the dialog box that actually says join.
Yeah, because I don't have automatically move. So you'll get the invite. You can all go deny it, except if 2 of you, like John and Josh, or a pair of you, want to go test this in a breakout room, just to either affirm, John, what you initially described, or go, well, I thought I saw that, and come back and say it's not quite like that. So if you don't mind, let's clear that up.
I'd be very curious if there's a different experience in a breakout room.
Yeah. So Josh and John, just pick a room and go report back. We'll see. So many details. We have an air show here this weekend, Frank. I'm volunteering there tomorrow and Sunday, and best seat in the house for free, right? You just have to work and sweat a little. That's all.
We have a hot air balloon show here this weekend.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. I used to help run a hot air balloon show here several years back. First year I did like parking, which
work your way up.
It was
pay your dues.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I was like the guy who had to plan it, and we had to fence it, and run and manage all the cash, and have the cops, at a spot where we, because they pull in a crap ton of money, but it was a lot of work. But one year they because they'd take off in the morning from a known location and track towards the site, and so they did that. They popped up they're tracking towards just as this marine layer lays itself in. And so they were above it, we were below it, and they couldn't see anything. And so they were trapped up there. And one of the balloons had the mayor. It's like, oh,
we had
my
a tragedy a few years ago. The person who plans and runs the event and his daughter were in a basket, and they hit the power lines and they died.
Oh my goodness. That's horrifying.
John and I are back.
All right. So what were the results? Where'd Josh go? Oh, they're still testing. Okay. What were your results, guys?
Good news. He didn't get kicked until I physically chose
So you shared. Okay.
share. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So it is a cleaner cut. It's as clean of a cut as they can produce between two people. So if it was well coordinated between, 2 or 3 presenters of this your turn, this your turn, this your turn, and it was practiced, I think that would go well.
Yeah. So just for everybody's notion, which I thought was hilarious, the default Big Buck Bunny video, it didn't like the audio or video codec.
Ah, interesting.
It's an unsupported format.
Now, so you'd have to pop that up in like VLC and share VLC versus the internal player. Yeah.
So whatever they're using for the player component didn't like the codec.
Yeah, they I don't remember. I knew when they released this feature.
The audio and the video one.
But it was MOV and
I'm just trying to say this.
H.264 was the only two.
Yeah, it's H.264. You're right. Yeah.
So as it's going to be publicly broadcast, it may be they didn't buy the license fee for all the different formats.
Yeah.
Or register.
Yeah, they have it pretty clear. They didn't tell us it was H.264 in their initial release and documentation, but they eventually got that added to the doc. So
okay,
that's good.
Yeah. So
okay.
Just for everybody's sake, I do have the info up on the actual. I deep dive into all my videos, so I've got the actual. So it is MPEG-4, video-wise, but it might be upset because this actually has embedded stereo as well as embedded 5.1. So it might not have understood which audio to play, and it might have been upset with that.
Yeah.
What's the codec?
The MPEG audio, I think they're just doing MPEG-3, MP3, 160. It should have been fairly. And what they were doing for the third track, which was, it might have not liked the MP3, and it might have been going after the second track, which was actually AC3. So that was the 5.1.
Gotcha.
But interesting. I didn't even realize that they were hiding that second audio track in there. I've never used it. But that is the default one that I downloaded from Blender.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see if Josh and Amir come back quick enough. Any other combinations? I mean, I think we've confirmed. If I look at the security tab, for instance, I'm not going to bear down on renaming it. Share screen, we know, has to be done here. It'll carry into there. Now, if you can interrupt somebody, anybody can interrupt somebody. I mean, just keep in mind, allowing everybody to share screen and multi-users, with the ability to say yes on the interruption is not probably, the most comforting, place to be as well. But to know the behaviors, to be empowered. Rename themselves. I don't know whether that carries or not. That's not as important to me as audio and video and sharing. We didn't get to the whiteboards. I mean, I can turn that on real quick because you should, in fact, if I allow participants to share whiteboards now and you wanted to go join, the rooms are still open. If you want to go join and test that, you should be able to share a whiteboard as well that will separately carry in. Go ahead, Frank.
I have a question. Are you using the classic whiteboard or are you using the multi-user whiteboard?
I don't even know.
Because the multi-user whiteboard is designed to allow multiple users simultaneous use, right?
when I bring up my whiteboards dialog from within the Zoom meeting, bottom left corner, allow participants to access after meeting. Bottom right corner, there's a allow all participants can edit or all participants can view. It says edit, and so that should be your multi, and then I'll collaborate and share. And then you guys should be able to join in on this, right? You guys get in on this? Yep. Yep. Cool.
I did notice that if I tried to click on whiteboard now, because you're in whiteboard, it says you cannot open a whiteboard when a whiteboard is already open in meeting.
Correct. Yeah, so the whiteboards button on the toolbar works really similarly to the share screens, where there's an up caret and it pops up the same exact dialogue. Who can share, host or all, and who can start, host and all. And it looks identical, except in the title bar of it, it says share whiteboards options instead of share options. And so I'll say all participants now. Now you can replace mine.
Okay. And it gave the same opening another whiteboard.
Same kind of prompt, yeah.
The current whiteboard. Okay.
Cool. All right. Those guys are still out there. They're testing something hard, fast.
Chatting about audio.
And are you guys still testing? I guess we'll wait for you, I guess. All right. Guys, great to, it's not a talk back, but it's a talk to everybody in the breakouts. I press the B key on my keyboard and talk, and I can't get confirmation, but at least I can send messages. So that,
I see it even like if you wanted to do it sort of like a little bit of a green room per se, where you're like 10 minutes there,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, they're hearing it, but that's the thing. So that's a question. Can I talk to all the breakout rooms, but not the main meeting?
So does the B button actually mute you in the main meeting would be the question.
No, I don't. I mean, did you hear me just talk to them in the breakout room? Yeah, I think it's all the same.
But if you mute yourself, can you get the broadcast to work?
Well, I think it'll respond, but I don't think there will be any audio input. You know what I'm saying? So let me close that.
No, I got what John means. He means like if you mute yourself now as being in the main and then hit the B button, are you able to broadcast to them?
It wouldn't show it to me twice. It popped up a message telling me I was muted, therefore I can't broadcast. Yeah, and I can't get it to repeat that message. But it gave me a bubble up top that said, hey, you're muted. So it's like there's no audio input. I can't broadcast when I can't pick up anything from you. So that was good. That was helpful. Indicative, I guess.
So I guess the only way around that would be to have the main room not actually be the main room.
Yeah, well, if you had the requirement, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, is it meant to be an isolated message to just the breakouts versus the main room? Most stuff I work anyways is, I mean, we may not be an empty main room, but we're as empty as we can get. Like everybody who can participate in a breakout room is in a breakout room, and based on the devices they've joined the meeting with, some can't go to breakout rooms. Those are the only ones who are left. So yeah, they would hear, they'd hear what you're saying, but that's, in a lot of cases, that's not the end of the world. But it's not a back channel. I mean, that's the main thing, is it's not a back channel. So Amir and Josh, what were you guys hammering on, and anything you learn and so forth?
Well, we found out some nice sharing options.
All right.
Unfortunately, Amir didn't have his Mac permissions to interrupt me for the share. So I did some multi-shares, and I could do 2 at a time. And I could interrupt myself. After the third one, I interrupted myself. And the fourth one, I interrupted myself again.
Very cool. So you did two shares at a time?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what's the user experience like that? I mean, I know that if I'm in dual monitor mode, I'll have one share on each monitor.
Amir had to tell me that I was sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're not in dual monitor mode, I think it's a selection process of which share versus those attendees who are using dual monitors, Zoom dual monitors. They'll actually have each window, each sharing.
Well,
showing
the second one, there was no other
share.
place for it to show. The only reason I knew, so when I shared, I did different types. I did second camera, and then when I did my screen, I could see the green, the highlight around it. That's the only indication I had that that's what I was sharing.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I'm in single monitor mode, and let me set some of these things back before I forget. In single monitor mode, I think I've got a little too much grab for my NVIDIA card right now, which is why my screen grabs and sharing, I think, are messed up. And then in combination with the share not sharing, I believe that's the same consequence, but because I never used to have that problem in single monitor mode, it seems to be more about my graphics card, because I have vMix is, I mentioned this a few weeks ago, is my NVIDIA cards, it's a 2060 Super, and I think it's limited to 3 streams at, 3 uses at a time, right? And so the vMix is using it on, I thought it was going to be recording. I might have taken the recording out of my script. Usually it's recording and using the hardware. It's not today. It's streaming, and I'm only doing 1 stream to YouTube, so that's a single stream. But then Zoom also will use hardware acceleration by default. If you've got it, it'll use it, and so you can either be aware of it, but you have to be careful, because it can use it in 4 different ways. Receiving and sending video and processing or something or another. I mean, there are 4 different check marks if I go to advanced video. Yeah, video processing, sending video, virtual background, and receiving video. You can tell it to use hardware, yes or no, on any of those 4. And then in your operating system, Chrome naturally uses hardware acceleration, and you can turn it off. The other browsers do the same thing. Discord and I believe Slack both do the same thing as well. And so if you have those apps open and they're, what I'm saying? It's like if they're there and they're using them and so forth, I had to go through and really pay attention to what was enabled and what was using it while I was in the kitchen, because I had some real video issues for a while, and that was the thing. There was just too much clamoring for my graphics
seems to be
card.
a common solution when people are saying they're having video problems with Zoom is to turn off hardware acceleration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, and I turned it off today. I turned it off, but I turned it off during the meeting. And so I don't suspect that unhooked itself because it's a Windows machine. Normally those changes aren't dynamic within the meeting. But on a Mac it usually is. But
yeah. And again, speaking from, I was playing around with that a little bit with Chrome, and Chrome has to restart before it actually takes effect for hardware acceleration, or not.
Yeah.
Does your card and motherboard support resizable bar, Jeff?
Resizable what?
Resizable bar.
I do not know. I'd have to pull
Usually if you
specs on it.
have PCI 4 on your motherboard.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have to dig into that. I'll write down a couple of notes and see. All right. Guys, it's been a really good work day, you know. It's digging in. Sometimes we get here and sometimes we don't. Last 2 or 3 weeks we've done good on really digging into particular topics and being able to be thorough about it as well. So some good findings, and sometimes it's new findings, sometimes it's confirmations, you know, sometimes it's a little bit of clarity of what, you know, how we thought it used to work, and they snuck a change in on us. I mean, that happens more times than not, is, you know, things just continue to evolve and in a positive
Apparently it was
direction.
a 0-day update. They added a 0.
Added a 0. So, you know, it's fun. IBC is this next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Zoom is there. Andy and Sam and others will be there. Zoom OSC, Zoom ISO. I know they've got Andy's just itching. He's just itching with announcements that he can't, you know, release till IBC. As we know it right now, you know, they're not there yet and things can change, but we're attempting to have Sam and Andy pop in to the Zoom Test Kitchen. Not as a long formal guest, but literally just to pop in, say hello and so forth. And it'll probably be from their hotel because it'll be evening. But we'll, you know, get caught up, see what's, you know, fresh and so forth, and go from there. And then at the end of, I think the 30th of September, we'll have more of a formal meeting with Sam and Andy. Sam's been doing some really interesting hybrid stuff with his team that he's really excited to share as well. So we might get a little bit of a glimmer of that on Friday when they pop in, and more of it formally later in the month possibly as well. So it'll be good to hear from what they been working on and how creative they've, you know, gotten. And because they've, you know, there's Zoom OSC, there's Zoom ISO, and they've adopted vMix and Stream Deck and Companion. I mean, it's a tool set that's, you know, intimate to me for sure, and a lot of people I know. So it's really, really exciting content normally when they're sharing findings and configurations and so forth. So look forward to that. I'm going to be working at the air show in Kansas City, not Kansas City. It's actually a little bit south in a little town called Gardner, but there's a military base there historically. Even Air Force One landed there several years ago. I mean, it's got a big enough strip for Air Force One. But needless to say, I got a fun air show with the Thunderbirds and several other acts, and be sweating my tail off tomorrow and the next day there, but gets me some free good seats as well. So anyways, hope you all have a great weekend. Anything else you'd like to throw out there before we wrap it up?
The Toronto Air Show is on also this weekend.
Oh yeah? Do you know, are they streaming it by chance?
They did last year.
Okay.
Not well. Don't know the company that did it.
Sure.
Wish not to comment.
Hey, not an easy activity to broadcast, by the way. Yes. I mean, it's hard to chase planes. It really is hard, and stay in focus and all that. Not an easy task.
Yeah.
But it's hard to chase rockets too, by the way, huh, Josh? Those cameras at the rocket launch. It's tough. I got lucky, and I was just hand holding my own camera, but they go up fast, and it's really hard to follow. But anyways.
When in doubt, stay wide.
Yeah, no doubt. Very good. Well, have a good weekend, y'all. So good to get together, and we'll maybe see you next week.
Josh, you on this weekend?
Sorry?
I said,
Am
are
I
you
on?
hosting this weekend or no?
Sky's gonna be hosting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got a new trainee reader.
Oh, okay.
Catch you later.
Bye, everybody.